Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to apologize because it has been a while since we've done a video, but a lot has gotten done over the holidays. A lot of it I didn't do on video just because it's pretty straightforward stuff. But I'm going to take y'all into the engine compartment. The engine is in, the generator's in, the water pump is in. Especially after a rebuild, I wanted to put it in right away to see what it looks like in the engine compartment, and we're going to go take a look here in a second. But if you guys follow me on Instagram, 850_spider_project, you'll see what I did through the holidays. So the engine compartment empty, then me mounting the motor. Something pretty simple and straightforward. Luckily this rear panel just comes off and just sliding the engine in and making sure it all lines up. So it wasn't very hard, pretty straightforward. That's why I didn't record it. But let's get to this engine bay. I want to show you guys what progress we're at, and maybe today we'll be able to do a first start. No promises, but we're going to cross our fingers. So let's get in and take a look and see if we can get this thing fired up. Alright, so here we are in the engine bay. As you can see, it's in. The motor is in. Got the distributor on. I've got the exhaust on. Like I said, generator, water pump, the belts are on. The belts are a little on the small side because the generator is all the way in. There's supposed to be an adjustment to do tension so you can replace the belt easily. But that's something I'll have to check into. Maybe I got the wrong size. I'll look into that. But I've got a lot of the wiring hooked up in here. I've got a lone wolf switch that I rigged up here to jump so we can test it from the back. Yeah, so it's in there. Looks good. Fits really nice. Everything is lined up. So I just wanted to show you all. Get this out of the way. So, nice new plug wires. Wasn't going to mess around with those old ones. Got the carb mounted thermostats in there. So it's all in here. Set that down. So it's all in here. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to I have my points set on my distributor. I have those set. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the key on, and then I'm going to use my little lone wolf switch here to turn the motor over to see if we've got spark at the points. And if we have them at the points, then we'll put the cap on and see if it goes all the way down to the spark plug, which I don't know why it wouldn't. They're brand new plugs. So let me get you guys set up in the tripod or on the stand behind you, and we'll get a good test going. Alright, so I got y'all super zoomed in, but what you're going to be focusing right here, it's a little top middle of your screen there. That's the point right there, right there. So I'm going to turn the key on. I'm going to come back here. We're going to wiggle the distributor a little bit, and we should see some spark. Key is on, so we should have power to the coil. So when I play with the distributor, I don't know how well that shows up on there, but there is spark there. I know it's easy to see that one initially, but there is spark, which is good. There it goes. Now you should be able to really see it. I just had to get a solid connection. So anyway, that's good. Let me turn the key off. I don't want to burn up the points. So that's good. So let's go on to the next thing. Alright, so it's a few days later since that last clip. I was having some issues with my starter. When I was getting ready to get y'all to show the starter working, I did a quick test run off camera, and under load the starter wouldn't engage the flywheel, but on the bench it would work just fine. So as soon as I put any sort of pressure on the teeth of the starter, it wouldn't work. So a new starter should be delivered today. I don't know what time. I'm thinking this afternoon sometime. So we're going to keep working on other things while we wait for the starter to get here, because a lot of power that goes to the rest of the system goes through the starter first and then it gets distributed throughout the car. So we can't do a whole lot of other testing of engine components without the starter in the car. But the coil will work without the starter, so just like in the last clip, that's why we were able to see it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to attach the fuel lines. We're going to go from the fuel tank, wrap it around into the electric fuel pump that I put in it. And I'll show you all everything where that's at, how we're going to wire it up, and then put the filter in it and all that stuff, and get it situated. We're going to do our best to keep it to where it's always cool so we avoid vapor lock. We do not want this gas to vaporize in the line and then we're stuck. So let me get y'all set up over there and we'll get going. All right, so our fuel tank inlet, or outlet I guess I should say, is right back here. You can see it here. So what I want to do is I'm going to go down behind this firewall and come out here where these wires are. This is also where the wiper washer fluid comes out, some electrical. So I'm hoping that there's enough space here to squeeze that fuel line down here, and I'll see if I can reuse these factory clips that are here to hold it. I might have to get a little creative and just come along this rail. I have the fuel pump here. I have it attached to the bumper brackets, so it's in there nice and tight. It comes in on the downside, so I think on the downside, let me get you some vision here. So what I think I'm going to have to do is come across the rail and at this hole, drop and come down around this way to have a nice smooth bend. I don't want any tight 90s. And then come up out this side. And then I'm going to run it inside of here. So there's little clips inside of this rear panel. You can see one here. So I'll run it up and into those, and that keeps it as far away from the hot exhaust as possible. So we're going to keep it around in here. We've got the factory clip up here. Not really a clip, just a holder. So I might come around after this last clip here, swing out and up through, and then up to the carburetor, which comes up and around this way. So it'll just kind of be like a this into here, down through the back wall, through the fuel pump, back up through the rail, back up and through. So it's kind of a far way to travel, but not as far as some cars. But I'm just doing my best to keep it away from the exhaust. I will be wrapping the exhaust in some like titanium material. It's like a fabric that you can wrap the exhaust. It will keep the heat out of the engine bay and away from that gas. This is just getting really close here for the gas for my comfort. That's really our only access panel through the firewall, unless we went all the way to this side, but there's no hole over here. And we have to come all the way around this way. So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to set y'all up, and I'm just going to time lapse it for you guys. That way you can see the general idea of what's going on. Alright, so as you saw, I just got that fuel line all ran throughout there. I'm going to drop y'all in so you can take a look at it. And I've also got it wired in. I've got the positive side of the fuel pump attached to the coil. I'll show you all that. And I've also got the grounded side grounded to where the taillights ground out, because I know it's a good ground, and you know, I know it'll work. So that means that when I turn the key to the on position, that the pump will start pumping before I crank it. Which also means when I turn the key off, it is off, so I don't have to worry about that. One thing I will be adding in the future, it's called an inertia switch. It's a little thing about this big. That means if you get in a car accident or the car flips or anything like that, it automatically cuts power to the fuel pump, and you basically just run it in line with the power supply or with the ground side, either way. And that way it'll cut off power if the switch is flipped from an accident. My green 124, which is out of the garage right now, it has one in the back, and it's a really good investment. It's only like 20 bucks on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description for the one I have. It's just a good safety measure and a good safety practice, you know, and a good peace of mind. So anyway, let me get you guys in here, get y'all set up here. So I've got the fuel line coming through the wall here. I was able to get enough space in here, and it's not pinched. That's one thing I was worried about, is it getting too tight. So I'm sure you saw me in the video just a second ago going back and forth, because I wanted to make sure that the curve from here, where the gas tank is, all the way to here is nice and smooth. So I have a nice bend in here, so I'm not kinking it and starving it for fuel. So I'm going to come through this way. I don't think this clip will hold it. I'll try. And then I've got this hole here, so I'm going to do something like that to hold it up and away. It curves down, nice smooth curve to the fuel pump, up through the filter, through the holder, up and around, nice smooth bend, no kinks, sharp corners, anything like that. So let me get you guys set up. I'll turn the key on and you guys will be able to see the pump, well, hear the pump come on. Alright, so I'm going to go get that key for you guys, but you're going to be focusing right here where the fuel pump is. I have you kind of delicately balanced in the engine bay here, but that's where it is. So you're going to hear it. It's going to be really loud because it's a cheapy fuel pump, but it works for now until I can get something quieter and a little bit better. So get this adjusted a little bit, tucked in there. Alright, here we go. Awesome. So I'm sure you could hear that. What I could always do is add some rubber bushings under here, like a rubber O-ring underneath those bolts. That way it'll smooth out the vibration and you won't hear it as much. But once the engine is running, you're not going to really hear the fuel pump. You'll be hearing the engine. At least that's the idea and the concept. So get this smoothed out. So I have that wired into the coil, which is right here. You can kind of see that red wire right. Let me move the coil. Well, you can see it right. A little bit of the corner of red right there. And it runs behind this back panel into these little clips that are built in and down. That way it's nice tucked out of the way. We don't have to worry about the belt catching any wires or anything like that. So we're still waiting on that starter. So we're going to move on to the heater hoses. And the heater hoses are going to be right behind this. Let me move this. Which are going to be right behind here. You can see one of the hoses here. And you can see the awful orange. Let me get y'all up. See the awful orange that is in it. So there's one that comes here for the heater core to heat the car, you know, in winter. And there's a return line which is just behind this hole right here. And it comes out and attaches to this. So we're going to get underneath there. I'll show you what I'm working with. I'll replace it and I'll bring y'all back when it's done. So let me show you what we're working with. Alright, y'all are going in. I'm kind of blind here, but you're going to take a look. So when we go underneath the car, right there, you can see where the two connections are. I'm kind of blindly pointing right in here. And you see how bad and how old the rubber is. It's all hard and tough. Super old. So what I'm going to do is just get underneath here. I won't be able to have enough room for you and me. So we're going to get underneath here, cut off these old connections, put on the new hose, and run the new ones. That way we have nothing to worry about. Especially since the transmission is already out. Not the transmission. The radiator is already out. It makes it a lot easier. with stuff out of our way, and we can access it. So I've got some new heater hose. I'm going to get underneath there, knock that out, and I'll throw y'all back under there so you can see. Pretty straightforward process: cut, replace, reattach, all done. So give me just a second, we'll go get that taken care of. Alright, so we've got that heater hose changed underneath there. I'm going to take y'all down there real quick to show you how it looks now. The old clamps that were on there that I've actually never really seen these be used before, but it works kind of like a ratchet strap. I'm sure these are original. So underneath there you had to actually twist this to get it to loosen up, but the strap would come through the slot, come through and then back on itself, and then it would tighten it down, and that's how it tightened to the metal pipe that's down there. All I used was a worm gear clamp down there. They're a lot easier to use. These I had to fight with, the other ones like cut in half. So these are good for maintenance, so if I do have a leak later, I can go in and replace it with a new one. It's not going to take me nearly as long to get it off. So let me get y'all down there real quick. Alright, here we go. So you can see I've got the new clamps on there. I have it choked up a little bit, and I left a little behind. That way I have some room to work with in case I need to come forward on the other side. So on this side, you can see where we come out for the bottom of the radiator. This hooks to the bottom back. This is plenty of slack back here, but I always want to have too much and not enough. And then up here on the top where it meets with the water coolant housing, where the thermostat sits in here, so then it attaches here and goes to the heater core, back through and up to the radiator, and around we go. What I did is I started up here and fed it down. That way I knew I had plenty of connection here. All I did was use the old hose. This is it here. These are the old pieces. You can see how crummy they are, and they are like rock hard. So, and they are not pretty in there. So I just use these as a template so I can measure it out, and I left a little bit on each side. That way I had enough to play with. There's no worse feeling than being short on some of your heater hose. So what's going to happen next, while we still wait for the starter to be delivered, is we could attach the heater hose from here to the water pump. It'll go from here up to the thermostat housing. Across here it goes through, there's a banjo, this is a banjo bolt basically, and it comes through on this side, loops around down into here, and then it goes through the block because the thermostat, I don't know if it'll show in camera there, you can see that little silver thing, that's the thermostat right there. So it'll open up when it gets too warm, and back through and around it goes. So this is, you can use 3/8 fuel line just like we did for this, for here. I tried to find some online specifically for heating, so it's more rated for the hotter temperatures, but everywhere that I get my parts from just uses fuel line. So we have a little bit left over, which I think will be just enough to maybe get us there. We'll see. But to go, what we've done so far is this, the fuel line is about 6.5 feet is what it took to get all the way around, from the fuel tank all the way around with the filters and the pump up to the carburetor, nice smooth bends. And for the heater hoses, it took about 6 feet, 6.5. They sell them at O'Reilly's, a big 6-foot roll off the shelf that you can use, and that's what I've got. It's Prestone, so it's a good brand. So let me get these on there with some clamps, and we'll be that much closer, and I'll bring y'all back. Alright, so the heater hoses are now attached from the water pump to the thermostat, and the thermostat to the thermostat housing. I guess the temperature gauge, temperature sensor. I know there's a name for it, I just can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, let me show you guys how that went. Real straightforward, like I said. Most people just say to use a 3/8 fuel line, that it's rated for enough, I guess. That's what the people I buy my parts from sell to use for that. So, put y'all in here. Again, just more of the worm gear clamps, real simple. Straight, clean, easy to replace if need to. Nice smooth bends all the way around to the back there. and then of course we'll attach this. So what I'm waiting for, I'm not going to attach this on here or install the radiator with that on there because I don't know the condition of the heater core up front. So what I'm going to do is I have a transfer pump which usually uses for oil or fuel out of a tank. I'm actually going to use distilled water and pump it through there manually. Just pump it all the way through and let it come out the end into another bucket and clean it out. Now I don't have that transfer pump with me, it's out on loan, but I'm getting it back this Sunday. So here in a couple days we'll do another video of that, cleaning out the heater core, because I have no idea what the condition of that is. So we'll get that cleaned out, so I don't want to hook that up until we have the heater core discharging at least semi-clear water, or as clear as possible as we can get, before we waste putting expensive coolant in it and installing the radiator and all that good stuff. So in other news, while we were doing all this side work, look what decided to show up. Ta-da! This is the gear reduction starter. I got it from Midwest Bayless in Ohio. This is where I get all my parts from for the 850 that I don't have, and I've never had a fitment issue, never had any problems, and it weighs just as much, maybe a little lighter, as the original ones, but it's a gear reduction, so it uses less power and it gets it going faster, and that's exactly what we need. Nice, new, shiny, manufactured 11/30 of 20. So let's get this installed. I'll set you guys up, we'll speed through it, and then we'll see how it goes. Alright, we're going to get the starter installed right down here. I've cleaned up the mating surface on the transmission, nice shiny metal. I cleaned up all the terminals. I have the negative cable taken off the battery up front, so this is all nice and clean. I just wire wheeled it real quick. So I'm just going to zoom through this. It's really straightforward. There's just 3 bolts, and it goes right in, and then we'll hook up all the wires, and I'll talk about where the wires go for those of you that need it. And then we'll see on a test and see how it goes. So let's just take care of it and zoom right through it. Alright, so in the kit it came with a boot to cover the bottom there where the power comes in, and a couple of the wires that hang off of there. But it also came with one of these. This is just the engage. It's a little terminal that when you hit to the on to turn the motor over, it excites it and it jumps the solenoid and gets it to spin. I don't know if I need to use this because that's what this thick red wire is, and it's already got a terminal on there, so I'm not sure. But the kit also came with some heat shrink, a couple pieces, and a terminal for the wire. So if you have to adjust your wire, at least these are in the kit. It's pretty nice. But I think all we're going to need to use is the boot to cover down there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to talk about what wires go where. So the big black wire is directly from your battery. It's going to go on the very bottom here. Get it around this heater hose back behind there. Alright, so that's going to go on here. It's a little tight, but it gets on there. And the pink wire, the thick pink wire, is also going to go on your starter terminal. Now your wires may be a little different because maybe a different year or a previous owner's kind of hacked it up. But this is what my car has, and it actually matches the diagram pretty well. And you're going to use a 13 millimeter to tighten that down. And you want to make sure your battery is unplugged when you're doing this. Mine is definitely unplugged. Almost. Oh, almost dropped it. I'm going to get to an angle where you guys can see what's going on. Well, I probably should have slipped the boot on there first, but I'll come around and do that after the fact. I forgot about the boot already. Alright, so after that, the red wire is what goes to the terminal on here. Might have to do a little bit of alterations on that. The skinny white wire goes on the back terminal of your generator. I've got it off the car right now. So the white wire will go on the skinny terminal on the generator, and the big one has the brown wire. It's a little bit thicker, like an orangey brown color. That goes on the big terminal of the generator. Next is going to be this green. It's got kind of got a sleeve on it. Some don't have these, some do, but it's green. I don't think it's got any tracer on it. Maybe green and black. And that goes to our water temperature sensor right here. And then your blue and black go to the coil positive, and your brown skinny go to your coil. And that is basically it. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to hop off camera real quick, put that boot back on, reattach those, see if I can get this to touch there. I think I might. We'll see. I may have to add a little extension on there. I may actually end up using the one that came in it, but it's not as thick, so I don't know how I feel about that. Anyway, we'll mess with that off camera. It shouldn't be too difficult. And then I'll bring it back when everything is all reconnected. I'll put the generator back on. I'll attach the belt between the water pump and the generator, but I'm not going to put the belt on between the generator and the crankshaft on the bottom, just because I want a little resistance as possible as we go to do a first kind of spin over without any fuel or anything. So let me get that all situated and I'll bring it all back. Alright, so we've got everything hooked back up in here. All the wires are reattached. I did my Lone Wolf trigger over here to the right. I did right there. That way I can jump to the solenoid on the starter and start it from back here. So I only have the belt attached between the water pump and the generator. Nice and smooth. Yes, I know there's a crack here. There's a piece of it missing. If you have a front of a generator, I want it. Message me on Instagram, 850_spider_project. This one is broken and I don't want to cut the belt as we turn. So this one turns, no problem. It's on there just kind of nice and got some good tension on it. But I don't want it on the bottom one, at least not yet. I just want to get it to spin over. So this is with the new starter, gear reduction starter, much stronger, much more efficient. I just got to jump to our switch here. So let me make sure the key is on. Key is on, and we're going to jump it right here. That is a strong starter. Turn the key off. That is strong. It's good. And I don't know if you could see it, but it was actually physically shaking the car because that's how hard it was turning the flywheel back there. So that's a good sign. We'll take that. So let me move y'all over. Alright guys, and with that I'm going to call this video done. We've got a lot done today. We covered a lot of topics, so I want to make sure that I keep that a little more simple. I don't want to jam it full of information and overload everybody. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I want you to subscribe, like, comment. If you have any questions, drop them down below and I'll help you out as much as I can. I don't know everything, but I do my best because I've got the manual and everything. But in the next video, we're going to try and get this puppy to start now that we know that our starter is good. And we'll see if we'll get it to fire off and cough at us, and maybe we'll get some movement. So make sure you tune in for the next episode. Until then, I'll see you guys later.